Over the next few days, Mia and Jordan's paths crossed again in the hotel, though it was always in passing. Mia attended her writing panels, and Jordan worked his shifts. They exchanged polite smiles when they bumped into each other in the hallway or elevator, but the magic of that first evening lingered in their minds. Both of them felt it, a quiet, unspoken understanding that there was something more to explore, but neither rushed to act on it. On the fourth morning of her stay, Mia found herself in the hotel cafe, sipping coffee and reviewing her notes from the conference. She was lost in thought when she heard a familiar voice. "Mind if I join you?" Mia looked up and saw Jordan standing there, holding a coffee in one hand and a small notebook in the other. He had a slight grin on his face, as though he were unsure whether she'd mind his presence but hopeful all the same. She smiled and gestured to the empty seat. "Of course, I was just going over some notes. I could use the company again." Jordan sat down across from her, his energy a refreshing change from the typical hotel rush. They had learned a lot about each other in their brief encounters, but now there was more time. They began chatting about their lives. Mia's journey as an aspiring author and Jordan's experiences as a waiter, the long hours, and his love for cooking. "What's your favorite dish to cook?" Mia asked, genuinely curious. She'd always been fascinated by food as an art form. Jordan's eyes lit up as he leaned forward, his passion for food obvious. "I love creating things from scratch. There's something satisfying about starting with raw ingredients and turning them into something beautiful and delicious. My specialty is braised short ribs with a red wine reduction sauce. It's comfort food but elevated, you know?" Mia's eyes widened in surprise. "That sounds amazing. You should definitely write a cookbook someday." Jordan chuckled. "Maybe someday. For now, I'm just trying to survive these long shifts," he said, gesturing to the bustling cafe around them. The conversation drifted into laughter and comfortable silences, like old friends reconnecting. Mia felt herself drawn to his easy confidence, and he seemed to appreciate her quiet intelligence. The chemistry between them was undeniable, but there was something else, a mutual respect that neither of them had expected, but both had come to value. Later that afternoon, Mia found herself thinking about him more than she'd like to admit. It wasn't just the spark of attraction, it was the way Jordan made her feel seen and heard in a way she hadn't experienced in a long time. She couldn't help but wonder if there was something more to their connection than just an accidental encounter. As the evening approached, she walked down to the lobby to grab a drink before attending a final event at the conference. To her surprise, Jordan was standing near the entrance, in his uniform, a tray of drinks in hand. He looked up and caught her eye, his face breaking into that same warm smile. "Hey, Mia," he said, his voice low and inviting. "I was just about to take a break. Mind if I join you for a drink?" Mia felt a flutter in her chest. She had been thinking about him, and here he was, offering more time, more space for their connection to grow. "I'd love that," she said, her heart beating a little faster than usual. They spent the next hour talking about everything and nothing at all, life, dreams, and everything in between. By the time they parted ways, the conversation had deepened even further, and Mia found herself reluctant to say goodbye. It was clear now, this wasn't just a fleeting hotel encounter. As she headed back to her room, she couldn't shake the thought of Jordan. He wasn't just charming, there was an authenticity about him, a grounded nature that she hadn't expected to find in someone working in a hotel. And somehow, it made her realize that she was more than just a writer from a small town. She was someone capable of making meaningful connections, even in places she least expected. The following day, Mia was preparing to leave the hotel and head back home. She packed up her things, unsure of what to expect next. Was she meant to keep this connection with Jordan alive, or was it just a beautiful memory from a brief stay? But as she walked out of her room, she ran into him once more, this time, standing by the elevator. There was something different about the moment, something unspoken but understood. "Leaving already?" Jordan asked, a tinge of sadness in his voice. "Yeah, the conference is over. But I'll miss this place and our talks." Jordan's eyes softened, and he stepped a little closer, his voice quiet. "It was nice, wasn't it? I don't usually get to talk to someone like you." You've got this passion and energy, Mia. It's contagious. Mia smiled, feeling the warmth of his words. Same goes for you. You've got a kind of fire, Jordan. I didn't expect that in a waiter. He laughed, shrugging lightly. I guess there's a lot more to people than what you see on the surface. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The elevator doors opened, and Mia turned to step inside. But then she paused, glancing back at him. I'm flying out tomorrow morning, she said, her heart racing a little. But maybe when I come back to the city, we can grab that drink again? Jordan's face broke into a genuine smile. I'd like that. I really would. Mia stepped into the elevator, the doors closing softly, but her heart felt fuller than it had in a long time. She wasn't sure where this connection with Jordan would go, but for the first time in a while, she was excited about the possibility. Absolutely, let's keep going. Here's where their story could take them next. A few weeks passed since Mia left the hotel, but she couldn't get Jordan out of her mind. She kept replaying their conversations, the laughter, and the comfortable silences. There was something about him that made her feel both grounded and inspired at the same time. She had returned home to finish her latest manuscript and had buried herself in her work, but whenever she needed a break, her thoughts inevitably drifted back to Jordan. What had started as a casual connection now seemed to hold the potential for something much deeper. It was late one evening when she decided to take the leap. She opened her phone, found his number, saved under Jordan, hotel guy, and hesitated for a moment. Would it be weird to reach out after all this time? Was she overthinking it? Before she could second-guess herself, she typed a quick message. Hey, Jordan. It's Mia. I know it's been a little while, but I wanted to check in and see how you've been. Would love to catch up sometime if you're free. She stared at the message for a moment before hitting send. It wasn't bold or overly romantic, just a simple gesture, an invitation to reconnect. To her surprise, within minutes, she received a response. Hey Mia, I was actually just thinking about you. I've been good, working a lot, but I've been experimenting with some new recipes. If you're still interested in food, I'd love to share them with you sometime. Her heart fluttered. It was more than just a casual, I'm doing well message. He'd remembered their conversations. He had taken the time to think about something she'd said, and now he was offering to share a piece of his life with her. That sounds amazing. I'd love to try them. Let me know when works for you. And just like that, the door opened. Their connection was no longer just a memory, it was something they could nurture. A few days later, Mia found herself sitting in a cozy little apartment on the outskirts of the city. Jordan had invited her over for dinner, and she was both nervous and excited. The address he gave her was small but charming, just like the man himself. When she arrived, the smell of something savory hit her the moment she stepped inside. Jordan greeted her at the door with a smile, his eyes bright and welcoming. Hey, Mia. Glad you could make it. Thanks for inviting me, she replied, stepping into the warmth of his apartment. It felt like stepping into his world, a space filled with little touches of his personality, music playing softly in the background, books stacked on every available surface, and the faint scent of something delicious cooking in the oven. I hope you're hungry, he said, leading her toward the small kitchen. The meal was already set up, plates of braised short ribs, roasted vegetables, and mashed potatoes. It looked even better than he had described. Mia's stomach rumbled, but more than that, she was intrigued by how effortlessly they fell into conversation. They spoke about their lives, their dreams, and even their struggles. She found herself opening up to him in ways she hadn't with anyone in a long time. And with each shared story, she felt herself falling a little more. Dinner was a slow, delicious affair, punctuated with laughter and quiet moments of connection. When they finished, they sat together on the couch, sipping wine, and watched a classic movie that Jordan had recommended. The evening felt like a perfect balance of comfort and excitement, of familiarity and discovery. As the movie credits rolled, Jordan turned to her, his gaze soft and serious. I've really enjoyed this, Mia. It's not every day you meet someone who just clicks, you know? Mia smiled, feeling the same. I know exactly what you mean. I didn't expect any of this when we met. I'm glad we reached out. There was a pause between them, a quiet acknowledgement of the connection they had built over time. And then, without thinking, Mia found herself moving closer to him, drawn by an invisible pull. Jordan didn't hesitate. His hand found hers, and for the first time in a long while, Mia felt that spark, a deeper, more intentional kind of connection. He leaned in, gently brushing his lips against hers, and the kiss was soft at first, exploratory. But as the moment deepened, so did the kiss, full of warmth and tenderness. When they pulled back, neither of them said anything right away. The silence was comfortable, filled with the weight of what had just happened. Mia felt her heart race in her chest. "This feels right," she whispered, almost as if speaking the words out loud would make them more real. Jordan smiled, brushing a lock of hair away from her face. "It does." And for that moment, as the world outside seemed to quiet, all that mattered was the present. The possibilities ahead of them were unknown, but in that small apartment, they had created something beautiful, something worth exploring. Over the next few months, Mia and Jordan's relationship blossomed. They balanced their busy lives with their growing bond, making time for quiet dinners, spontaneous adventures, and deep conversations. Jordan eventually took on a new job as a sous chef at a local restaurant, and Mia's book, which she'd been struggling to finish, finally found its rhythm. But more than that, they discovered the joy of being part of each other's lives. It wasn't always perfect. There were challenges, moments of doubt, and long days when they didn't have time to see each other. But through it all, they remained supportive, knowing that what they had was worth nurturing. It wasn't long before Jordan invited Mia to his restaurant for a special evening, his debut as the head chef of a new menu he'd crafted. As they sat together at the table, sharing the meal he had so carefully prepared, Mia couldn't help but feel a rush of pride. "This is amazing," she said, taking a bite of his signature dish. "You really are incredible, you know that?" Jordan smiled, his eyes reflecting a sense of gratitude. "I think I'm starting to believe it." And as they sat there, the future felt bright, full of possibility, and for once, Mia wasn't afraid to see where it would take them.